Hello and welcome to the Stamperia Sir Vagabond and Fantasy World tutorial series designed for Scrap and Create. All of these products that are available on the Scrap and Create website are linked in the description box below, so you can purchase these products and follow along. Let's get into the tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to be decorating page 4. So I'll be starting with the front side. From the 12 by 12 paper, I've cut this circle piece and I'm going to be placing it here right on the front of my closure. Now this was a leftover piece that we had from a previous cut. So I've just cut this into 2 pieces. So this is 1.5 inches and then I've trimmed the other teal edge off here and part of the white. So this is 1.25 by 1.5. Now I'm going to place one of these under this side and then the other one under this side here, like this. Next, I'm going to open this up and place my magnet. I'm going to actually be placing it a little bit off to the side instead of in the center like I had originally planned. So I'm going to place this right in here and then attach my opposite magnet and close my flap. Now for here, I have this sunflower circle cut out from the 12 by 12. And then from my, this is the 8 by 8 year paper, I've cut 2 more pieces that are 1.5 or 1.25 by 1.5. I'm going to place one here and one here. From this 8 by 8 paper, I have cut my piece to 5.25 by 6.75, and I'm going to place this one here on the front of this flap. And then for this piece here, from this 12 by 12 paper, I have cut this piece to 1.75 by 8 inches, and I'm going to place this one here on the front of this pocket. Now for the base of my page, I'm going to use this leftover piece from the 8 by 8 paper. So there was a piece down at the bottom, I just trimmed this off. It's a little tiny bit too short to tuck under the pocket and to have the right size border. So what I did was I cut this piece from the 8 by 8 paper. It was the bottom border strip from this paper. And I'm going to be placing it, actually cut this first to about 3/4 inch, and then it's 8 inches long. And I'm going to be placing it here. So my Sir Vagabond paper is going to be tucked under the pocket, and then this is just going to overlap it slightly on the right hand side. And I'm going to close this for a second so you can see this is actually the same as this, so it looks like a continuous pattern almost down here. I know it's smaller, but still I thought that looked kind of neat, so that's what I'm going to do here. Now I'm going to adhere this paper on first, and then you see it's overlapping by about a little bit less than maybe 1/4 inch. And then when I'm done, I'm going to adhere the top, or I'm going to apply adhesive to the top and the bottom of the pocket and close that to form that pocket. Next, I'm going to work on this flap. So from this 12 by 12 paper, this is all that I have left. It had that rose image on it, if that helps you out any. I've cut a piece to 3.5 by 5.75, and I need to use my decorative edge die here on the left edge. So I am going to line this up just like I have been, putting the scalloped edge on the left side, and I will run this through my die cutting machine. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this piece here, and I'm using this paper. It's the same as the paper that we used here. It's from the 12 by 12. 3.5 by 5 3/4, except for this time I'm going to use the decorative edge on the right hand side. So I'll cut both of these pieces and attach them, then we'll come in here. For this flap here, I'm starting with the 12 by 12 gears paper. I've cut 2 pieces. They are 5 3/8 by 1 1/4. So I'm going to place one up here at the top, and I'm going to place it right next to the score line on the left-hand side. Since there's going to already be a gap here, I don't want that to be too large, and that'll give me that smaller gap over here too. Then I'm going to place this second piece down here at the bottom. Now for the center, for my photo mat, I'm using this 12 by 12 paper, and I've cut my piece to 5 3/8 by 4 1/4, and this piece will go right here in the center. Once these papers are on, we are finished with the front of the page for now. We will be adding our photo mats and embellishments in another video. So next we're going to come to the back side of the page. For the front of the page, I'm going to be using this card from the 12 by 12. I did cut the blue pieces off of the sides. I left them on the top and the bottom. This I'm going to be placing here. So I do have my decorative edge die that I'm going to be using down the right side. So I'm just going to line this up and get everything ready, and then I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. And then I have this here from this 12 by 12 paper, and I first cut one piece that is 4 1/2 by 5 3/4. Then I cut a piece that's a 1/2 inch. It's going to go over here, and then this is going to go here. So once I'm finished with my decorative edge die here, I'm going to use my decorative edge die on the left side of this piece. I did go ahead and adhere the 2 pieces to the front flap, but I need to place a magnet first on this one before I can place my paper. So I'm going to come over here and place this one there, and then apply my second magnet, and I'm going to close that flap. Now I'll go ahead and adhere this here to cover this magnet. Once this is on, we're going to go ahead and open up. I'm going to start here first. So from my 12 by 12 paper, I've cut this piece from up here at the top. These are 5 3/4 by 1 inch. So I have 2 of these. And for this top one, I'm going to use my decorative edge on the bottom. Then for the bottom one, I'm going to use my decorative edge on the top. Then I will adhere those to my flaps. Next, I'm going to come here for these 2 flaps, and I have this 8 by 8 paper that I have cut. I cut the bottom portion to 5 3/4, and then I've cut this to 4 inches. For each of these pieces, I'm going to need to use my decorative edge die, so I'm going to use it on the right side of this one and then the left side of this one. Next, I'm going to open up these smaller flaps here, and then for the base of the page, I have this 8 by 8 paper, and I've cut the left side off, so this is 5 3/4, and I'm going to be placing this here on the base of my page. The leftover piece of this paper, that was the strip across the top, I cut the left side of this, and this is 5 3/4, and then I cut 2 1 inch strips. Now these are going to go here and here, so I'm going to use my decorative edge die on the bottom of the lower flap and on the top of the upper flap, then I'll adhere all 3 of these pieces down. Now this is it for the page so far. This page was designed so that I'm going to put several just open photo mats tucked in here. So these will hold those photo mats on the page. That way you can still see this pretty image. So it's a pretty basic page, but it's a nice way to be able to add several photos at the end if you just need some extra space. So that is it for the page for now, until we come back in a separate video and add the photo mats and the additional embellishments. Now that we have all of our pages done, we're actually going to put them in the album in this video, and then in the next video we're going to decorate the inside cover. But before we put the pages in, I'm going to apply the paper to my hinges. It's easier that way. So I have this 8x8 paper here, and I have cut from the right hand side 13 pieces that are 3/8 of an inch by 8 inches. I've left mine in order because I'm going to be placing these in order so that you see that continuous pattern when you're flipping your pages. So I'm going to place my first piece here, and my second piece will go here on the bottom portion of this back hinge. Then I'm going to flip over and I'm going to apply 3 pieces here. So here, here, and here on all the flat sections. Then I'll apply 3 more here, 3 more here, and then 2 here. So the only pieces that do not get paper are these pieces that have that mitered end. So I'm going to go ahead and apply all of my papers, and then I'll come back and we'll start adding our pages. Now all of my hinge pieces are covered except for the areas that I'm going to be attaching my pages. So I'm going to be attaching my pages. I have them from back to front, so that's the order I'm going to attach mine in. It doesn't really matter at this point which direction you attach your pages. A lot of times if my front cover is really bulky, if I have a lot of embellishments on it, I will attach them back to front just because it's easier since the cover doesn't always lay flat. But this one's pretty flat overall, so it really doesn't matter, whatever your preference is. Now all I'm doing here is applying my adhesive to both sides of my tab. If you are using double-sided tape, make sure that you have the entire tab covered. This is my back page. This is the front of it, so I want to make sure it's in the right direction. I'm going to open up that pocket between those pages and then slide this down right to, as far as it'll go is that score line. So I'm going to make sure it doesn't go past that score line, and I'm going to make sure that it's on there even. I'm going to press down, flip over, make sure on the back side it's even with that score line as well. Then I'll take my bone folder just to get a little bit more pressure in here, and I'm going to burnish this down, and I have my first page in. I should say my 4th page. So I'm going to repeat that process then with my 3rd page, first applying my adhesive to both sides of this tab. Now this is the back side of page 3, so I want to make sure that I flip over so it's in the correct orientation. Going to open this up. It'll be easier for me to get my hand in that pocket. And then taking this one down to that score line. Now I can flip this up, flip over, make sure it's lined up there, and then use my bone folder to burnish this down. And I'm going to repeat that process with page number 2. Making sure that the page is in the correct orientation, I'll go ahead and open up this pocket here and slide this one down to that score line, and then flipping over, making sure everything is lined up on the back side and burnishing this down. And now I'll go ahead and add the adhesive to the final hinge so we can adhere page 1 into the album. For page 1, I'm going to make sure it's in the correct orientation, and then go ahead and place it down on that hinge to that score line. Flipping over, making sure it's lined up on the back side. and then I will burnish this down. And since this one's a little thicker, I'm actually going to open these up so I can get a little bit better of a burnish there underneath. There we go. Okay, so now we have all of our pages in our album. I'm going to go ahead and close this up and flip this, close this, and show you that there's definitely a lot of room in here. So what I am going to do is one more build video. Now, I don't typically do this. I wasn't sure what I was going to do here, but I'm going to actually build up the inside front cover and the inside back cover since there is so much room. Not a ton of stuff, but just a little bit. So that's it for this video. But in the next one, I'm going to go back to my cardstock and scoring board, and I'm going to cut papers for here, and I will probably build and decorate in the same video. And then there will be one final video where we will go through and make all of the photo mats and add the embellishments for the entire album. Now, if you are just joining the tutorial series, don't forget to check out the links in the description box below, where you can click on those to go to the Scrap and Create website to purchase all of your papers. I'll see you in the next tutorial.